What's up guys, welcome back to the channel where we talk all things horror. Today I wanted to share my 10 favorite horror movies of 2024. So in the comment section down below, let me know what you think of my top 10 and I'd love to get to know what your favorite horror movies of the year were. With that said, let's just jump into my number 10, which is Longlegs. So this follows an FBI agent played by Micah Monroe, who you may be familiar with from It Follows, as she tries to uncover this occult mystery. Longlegs is played by Nicolas Cage, and he gives an absolutely unhinged performance. What I will say is I know going into the movie, my expectations were maybe a little too high just because there was so much hype behind this movie. And while I don't think it reaches those levels, it is a movie that really stuck with me. I was thinking about it a lot after watching it. I think I liked it even more after a second watch. The way Osgood Perkins and his cinematographer shoot the movie really makes you feel uneasy throughout the whole experience, because the way it's framed, there's gonna be a window in the background or a doorway, and you're always looking for something. And there are some visuals in the background that really stick with you, and I think that paired with Nicolas Cage's performance really does make it a movie worth watching, even though I do think it was a little overhyped. Moving on to my number 9, it is Damien Leone's Terrifier 3. So I grew up watching all of the horror icons like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, like many of us have, and I think at this point now we can consider Art the Clown as a new icon in the horror genre. The practical effects are incredible. David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown, does a lot with his expressions and his physicality. And then Lauren Lavera, who is Sienna, or the final girl in part 2 and 3, is, in my opinion, one of the best final girls in any horror franchise. And part 2 is still my favorite, but I think 3 does a great job of pushing the franchise forward, making it still feel fresh, showing off some great new kills, and building on the lore of Art the Clown. My number 8 is Late Night with the Devil. This is such a great concept for a horror movie. We follow David Dastmalchian, who plays a 1970s talk show host that's featuring a Halloween special, and then he brings someone on that's claiming that this young girl is possessed by a demon. And all of this is taking place on air through the broadcast cameras. The concept is so great, and David's performance really is the anchor that makes this movie what it is. Overall, this was such a fun horror movie. It's not necessarily scary, but it kind of feels like a Twilight Zone episode. My number 7 is The Substance, which follows a older celebrity that is unhappy with how she looks, who decides to take this black market drug called The Substance, which promises to create a younger, more attractive version of yourself. So Demi Moore plays the older celebrity, and Margaret Qualley is the younger version, and they both deliver such great performances in this. And it is a full-on body horror movie that gets progressively worse and more disgusting, and right when you think it's about to end, it just keeps on going. And seeing how much buzz this is getting for the Academy Awards as well is really impressive and is not typical for a horror movie like this. So I think this is a huge win for the horror genre as a whole, for it to get this type of recognition. And if you haven't seen The Substance yet, I highly recommend it. My number 6 is Strange Darling, which has a very common horror movie plot about a serial killer chasing a woman, but it's told in a very unconventional way. It's 6 chapters. It goes back and forth in non-linear fashion, and there's not a whole lot I want to say about this movie. I kind of want to leave it as a surprise, but I will say the chemistry between Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner is great. The cinematography is beautiful. It's a very stylish film, and the soundtrack is also great. Feels like a very 70s type horror film. My number 5 is Odity, which is about a psychic medium that's trying to uncover the truth about her sister's murder. The first 20 minutes of this movie is so tense. Putting yourself in that situation where you're at your home and you get a knock at the door, and there's this terrifying looking man saying that someone is in your house and you need to go out and get help. but you don't know who to trust, or you don't know if he's telling the truth or what you should do. The first 20 minutes, really incredible sequence. The rest of the film is still really creepy. The lead, Carolyn Bracken, is a twin, so she's technically performing as both the sister that was murdered and the psychic medium that's trying to find out more, and she gives such a great performance that it's hard to even realize that it's the same actress doing both performances. My number 4 is Heretic, which follows these two young Mormon women that go to an older gentleman's house to try to spread the word, and this man, who's played by Hugh Grant, locks them inside the house, and they have to play a game to try and escape. And I don't know how to really say it. It's not that the movie doesn't have a lot happening, but majority of the film is a conversation between these two Mormon women and Hugh Grant's character about religion, about their beliefs, and of course there's the tension of them trying to get out of the house. But that first and second act really does build up these characters, their beliefs, and then once you get into that final act of the movie, all hell breaks loose. And I think some people didn't like how far they may have gone in that third act. I thought they did a great job. So if you're a fan of psychological thrillers, this is definitely a movie worth checking out. My number 3 is Alien Romulus, which was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, not because I'm a huge fan of the Alien franchise, but because I think that the trailers that were edited for this movie are truly a work of art. They got me so excited. And when I say I'm not the biggest fan of the franchise, I know it sounds blasphemous, but even the first movie, I think I know it's a great movie, but it's not a movie that I would rewatch often. So I guess going into this movie, I didn't really have any expectations as a fan of the franchise. Like, I didn't really care about the lore. I didn't really care where they were going to go with that. I just wanted an intense horror movie with really great practical effects, which they absolutely delivered on. And then Kaylee Spaney and David Johnson as brother and sister in this movie adds an interesting dynamic that made the movie more emotional than I thought it would be. So overall, I think this is a huge win for the franchise, and I'm excited to see where they take these characters, because they've already announced that a sequel is in the works. And if you haven't seen it yet, it is now streaming on Hulu. My second favorite horror film of 2024 is A Quiet Place Day One. I really love the first two movies, so when they announced this third one and they announced that John Krasinski wasn't going to be involved as a director, I was a little worried, but I was just blown away by what they were able to do. The movie being called Day One, I guess I was expecting to find out a little bit more about the alien creatures, get a little bit more backstory. You see the initial invasion happen, but then it does just feel like the first two films. You don't get a lot more out of that. That's really my only complaints. I think Peter Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn as the leads were so good together. They made you care for them. I teared up in this movie, I think 3 times. I watched this in AMC Prime, and the theatrical experience was just incredible. The seats were vibrating. It was just overall a really good experience. And last but not least, my favorite horror film of 2024 is The First Omen. So I never saw the original Omen, so I really didn't know what to expect with this one. But as horror fans, I know we've seen a lot of these types of movies, a lot of demonic possessions, exorcisms, those types of films, and they're not typically very good. So this movie, though, really did blow me away. I thought Nell Tiger-Free as the lead character was incredible. What really stood out were some of these dark, twisted visuals. They committed to it. Arkasha Stevenson, the director, this is her first feature-length film. As an aspiring filmmaker, I really don't understand how somebody can create something this good their first time around. So yeah, I saw this movie 3 times in the theater. Really everything about it was nearly flawless. Great performances. It looked great. The soundtrack was great. The score. It is streaming on Hulu now, so if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. And there you have it. Those are my 10 favorite horror films of 2024. I'd love to know what some of your favorites were in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more horror discussions, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys later.